Hello, and welcome to another episode of Quick and Nerdy, an MSP-friendly how-to channel dedicated to Veeam-powered BAS and DRaaS offerings. As always, I'm your host, Brandon McCoy, Systems Engineer Advisor supporting our Veeam cloud and service providers. And today, got a brand new video for you. As you can see, we're going to be talking about the Veeam Service Provider Console today. One of my, if not my favorite product here at Veeam, just a truly remarkable product that helps our service providers with their day-to-day activities, monitoring and managing so many different workloads across the board. This video is going to be a 2-for-1 special. So if you're new to the Service Provider Console, this is going to be an overview video, 5,000 feet, just here's kind of what it is. We'll show you the GUI, some of the functionality. If you're already familiar with the console, this video is also going to talk about new features in version 8 and 8.1. So let's jump right in. Now the Veeam Service Provider Console is a single pane of glass. It gets installed on a Windows machine at the service provider site, and it works through another product that we have called Veeam Cloud Connect, specifically through the Veeam Cloud Connect Gateway. This allows your customers to connect to your service provider console without any kind of VPNs securely with a network encryption. You can do your license management by integrating into Pulse. Pulse is an online portal where you submit your usage each month and you can cut your keys. Well, you can also do a lot of that from the console, so we'll talk about that. There's some self-service capabilities available for your customers. So the Service Provider Console has a web UI component that you can expose to your clients for some self-service capabilities. And there's also some integration with ConnectWise. So for instance, if an alarm goes off in the Service Provider Console, this can open up a ticket and send it to a service board. In terms of what's new, so Veeam Backup and Replication has added some new functionality, specifically for Proxmox. And we've also added some capabilities for Veeam Backup for public cloud. Some older workloads that weren't supported before now are, and then some additional types of workloads with existing products have been added into the console. We're going to talk about hosted infrastructure as a service enhancements with multi-tenancy, and we'll also talk about some new enhancements to how you monitor billing consumption for your customers and granularity of what kind of services you offer them. One last slide. I wanted to just talk about the architecture real quick. Now, I have a whole separate playlist called the Service Provider Quick Start. That series is going to show you how to install these products, how they connect with each other. But this is kind of real important. I usually talk about it on every call. The Service Provider Console on the far right, this is installed on a Windows machine at the service provider side. This can be in your data center. This could be in Azure or AWS, somewhere secure where you have a computer and an internet connection. Now the Service Provider Console connects with your Cloud Connect server. So Cloud Connect is backup and replication. Same product that our customers use. You know, it's our core product. You would install the same thing as the service provider, but we're going to give you a special license called Cloud Connect. It is no longer a backup and replication. It's now specifically Cloud Connect, and through Cloud Connect, you're able to deploy one or multiple Cloud Connect gateways. This is responsible for encapsulating network traffic between the service provider and you. Cloud Connect was originally used to allow our service providers to offer their infrastructure services for BAS and DRaaS without any VPNs in a multi-tenanted way. The Service Provider Console hooks onto that for the network connection so that no VPNs are needed. And here we can see the ports that have to be open. Port 6180 is the port coming in. Typically, this is positioned over a DNS. So the example cloud.com customer connects to that. You can offer them storage and then as well see them in the Service Provider Console. So that's it. I don't want to bore you guys with PowerPoints. I'd rather point to the power of the Service Provider Console. So let's jump right into the lab and check it out. All right. So here we are in the Service Provider Console. This is the overview. So once you have everything set up, you can come in here and see the health of your different components. You can see the different Veeam servers that you're managing and monitoring. So for instance, there's an alarm right here. I can click on this and it would tell me whatever alarms I have. I've actually got a filter here. This will show you the types of products that are giving you the alarms. So let's uncheck this and see. Here we can see all of the different alarms that are going on. I can see the errors. Sometimes I can use these to fix the problem. Sometimes I'll be able to open up a support ticket, which again you can now do directly from the console. We'll get to that in a minute. But again, this is just the overview screen. When you first install the console, you're going to be greeted with the Getting Started page. You'll need to provide an SSL certificate. Veeam can generate a self-signed certificate to get you started. You'll need to connect your Veeam Cloud Connect server to the console. A question I get asked a lot is, can I put the Cloud Connect, Service Provider Console, and Cloud Gateway all on the same Windows machine? And the answer is yes. However, it would really depend on the types of operations you're doing. So if you're using Cloud Connect to receive backups, to do disaster recovery as a service, and you have a lot of customers, any of those things, or even together, you may want to split those roles up onto different Windows machines. Also, you need to consider where these things live. So the Cloud Gateway, that's supposed to be close to your DMZ, so it's a little closer to the edge, right, of where the internet is than, say, your repositories where the goods are. So if you're offering offsite storage, you definitely want to keep your repository somewhere separate, I'd say. In terms of the console and Cloud Connect, those kind of go hand in hand. So sometimes I'll put the Cloud Connect VBR and the Service Provider Console on one machine, and then a gateway on another machine. The gateway's like 2 cores, a couple gigs of RAM, doesn't need much to get going. So anyway, once you've got this all started, I won't go through every little setting here. I've actually got something that'll walk you through a lot more of that. You can reach out to me if you want to get a deeper dive into that. But so let's kind of start with the management. So what can you do with the console? What types of products are supported? Well, let's go to management and we'll start with backup jobs. So here I've got agents that are managed by the Service Provider Console for Windows, Linux, Mac. I've got backup and replication. I've got Veeam Backup for Azure, AWS, and now, here's a new feature, Google is also supported, Veeam Backup for Google. I've got Veeam One, and I've got Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. In terms of Veeam One, so this is another what's new kind of feature, we've been able to integrate Veeam One into Service Provider Console for a few versions now, but now we can also take the alarms that you get from Veeam One and see all of those and filter them out in a single pane of glass from the console. Now let's start with the agents. So for agents, you can actually manage those. You can push Veeam agents out. Let's say you have a customer with 20 computers. Once you put an agent on the first machine, that can spread to all the other machines and an agent can be installed on every one of them. Here's some that I have here. I can come in and I can create backup jobs. I can edit the existing jobs. Is this a server or a workstation? Do I want to back up the whole thing, the scheduling? And I can push these templates out to individual machines or to a mass of machines, and I can pretty much control everything for the agents directly from here. Also, for Windows agents, this is for Windows agents only. If I go to this protected data column and I go to computers managed by console, I can even do a file level restore and it'll pull up a little portal. So this is some of that self-service that your customers could do as well. They could download the machine locally, or if they're on the computer where the file came from, they can restore it back to that computer as well. All right, so for standalone agents, it's centrally managed by the Service Provider Console, Windows file level recovery. Now, if you have backup and replication on-prem, I've got my agents that are managed by a backup server. Those need to be managed by the backup server. As a matter of fact, for all remote Veeam backup and replication, the management of jobs needs to be done from that Veeam server. The only thing I can do here is start, stop. So that goes for agents managed by the console, as well as if I click virtual machines here, we've got our VMware, Hyper-V, some of the new workloads that we have, right? So if I filter here, you can see that we also support our KVM and Proxmox as well. And we will continue to add support as new hypervisors become available. So those are some of the new things in terms of that workload support that I mentioned. Again, start and stop. Now, if you look up here, you'll see this job column, and I can click new job, new vSphere job, but I wanted to point something out. So this says to create a backup job, assign hosted backup resources to managed companies. This is one of those new features. So I told you that there's some multi-tenancy enhancements for infrastructure as a service. So there's a difference between remote Veeam backup and replication, where it's at the customer site, and hosted backup and replication. Let's say you have infrastructure as a service. Customers are renting workloads at your data center rack space. You have one Veeam server, and you're managing multiple customers with that Veeam server. In the past, it was one customer to one Veeam server for reporting and keeping up with keeping track of alarms and reports. Now we have the ability to assign multiple tenants to one VBR server so you can track them. And also, you can now create and edit backup jobs for hosted backup and replication. And this is only for VMware. So there's some limitations there. Hosted VBR VMware, you can create jobs very similar to the Enterprise Manager. So let's actually take a look at that real quick. How do we create jobs for hosted self-service vSphere VBR? So there's a few things to do, and just because this video I'm trying to make short, I'm going to really blast through it. But basically from the plugin library, I go to my Veeam Backup and Replication, and I select the Veeam server that I have qualified as a hosted, and I'll show you where to do that when we get into services. I have assigned a vSphere tag to the customer who is in my hosted VBR. Now that I've done all that, I've also, in the company section, turned on hosted, and again, I'll show you that in a minute, but now that I've turned on all those things, you'll remember that message I got earlier when I tried to create a job. Well, now if I click new vSphere job, it opens up because I've done those steps, right? And that's all in the help center if you're actually looking for how to do that. So I selected the company. This is the only one that has hosted services. We click next. I can select any objects based on that vSphere tag that I've assigned them. We'll select that one. You can exclude workloads from that tag. We click next. This is where I can set my repository. I can choose any repository that the service provider has set up for me as the customer. My retention policy, I can do GFS. You'll notice that I can't do any kind of advanced settings. This is just for basic backup jobs. You can do guest processing, scheduling. Okay, so that's a huge new feature for the multi-tenancy. And that's how we do backup and replication management for remote versus hosted. There's a few other products that backup and replication supports. So we talked about Proxmox being one of the new workloads we can see in here. Data backup. So this is a new tab. So this is for on-prem file share backups, NAS backups, right? Also for things in the public cloud. So you may have, oops, I think I have a filter on by this customer. Let's turn that off. Okay. So my Veeam backup for Azure, AWS, these are file shares within those. And like I mentioned, we now support Veeam backup for Google as well. And while we're on that topic, so this console can actually help you deploy Veeam backup for public cloud. It'll push the appliance out. It can help you create a local service account in the hyperscaler that you've chosen. And if you want to create jobs and things like that, it's actually going to send you to the URL of that appliance. So the actual management, another product that will be done by that console, or by that appliance rather, but you can still see a lot of the data in here. And then object storage, this is continuing on with the data backup of unstructured data is really what we call it. So you can see object storage backups here. Cloud databases, so we've been able to do that, but we've added in some additional databases. So really all we're doing is we're bringing in all of the new workloads that Veeam is supporting with our other products like public cloud and backup and replication. We're just now able to see those, monitor those, and we'll see in the subscription plan section where we can monitor the consumption of those with a bill as well. Cloud networks, so we can monitor the VPC backup for AWS and the VNet backup for Azure. For Veeam backup for 365, so we can create backup jobs, edit backup jobs. You can also actually onboard a customer. So if I go, here's pretty cool, I'll show you, configuration, plugin library, and I go to 365, I'll select a 365 server that has the management agent on there, and that's something that connects the Veeam product to the console. I talk about that in my quick start video. And then I can map companies, so the 365 organization to the service provider console tenant. I can also register a new organization. I can pretty much do everything except add new repositories to the 365 server, but I can do full onboarding. The self-service is there for the customers to create and edit backup jobs, and also redirect them to the 365 restore portal, which is a separate thing, but the SP console can allow them to be routed to that very easily. All right, so we're going to keep moving here. Got a lot to cover in little time. So let's talk about subscription plans. Subscription plans allow you to track consumption of Veeam services and assign a price to them. This also will integrate with your ConnectWise Manage and assign part number price updates to the ConnectWise agreements. Here I've just created some silver, gold, platinum. You can call these whatever you want. And you'll see these are the different things that you can kind of create in here. General services, this is just like a flat monthly fee. Managed backups, so how many standalone workstations, endpoints are you backing up? How many VMs? How much unstructured data? Advanced settings I can look at. What's free of charge? Maybe I charge more for different types of OSs. Okay. Veeam Cloud Connect. So I charge for number of machines that are being sent to Cloud Connect, or how much storage is being sent to Cloud Connect. The Cloud Connect replication, we can also consume charges for disaster recovery as a service. 365, we've added some stuff here too for allocated, standard, archive. Maybe you're using different tiers of storages and you want to add that. This is new here as well. The type of 365 user that you are supporting, maybe you give different, maybe give discounts to educational users. Public cloud backup, we've added some stuff here as well. So the cloud databases, different types of storage tiers. And this section is new too. This is really cool. So there was a section in there under managed services for like, I charge $20 a month per machine that I'm backing up. Well, this will further break it down and say, not how many machines am I backing up, but how many machines am I protecting? And this may seem like it's the same thing, but it's actually a little different. This is actually what you are consuming as a service provider. Some licenses may be perpetual. There's scenarios where a customer backing up a machine can be a cost to you, but in this case, it's the actual license that is being consumed. So whatever you're going to be billed by Veeam, you can exactly one-to-one monitor that and track consumption for your customers. This is a really cool new place to add that into your subscription plans. Okay, then you get a summary here. This can be sent each month to your company via email with your company's logo on there. Okay. So that's subscription plans. I'm going to go back to the plugin library right here. Like I said, we got ConnectWise Manage. Automate appears to be going away. I don't know too much about this. I've asked about it, but it looks like it is going to be removed in future versions. That was for like pushing out agents from the Automate server. Let's go into Pulse. We're going to try to round this thing out here. So Pulse, like I mentioned, this is where you go in, you create licenses, you can download the licenses, and you'll go in each month to report your usage to Veeam. Now, I've got a whole video on Pulse and licensing, so I highly recommend you watch that if you're new to the service provider program. But anyway, I've integrated my Pulse with the token. I've turned on the management. These are all my companies in Pulse that have a license. These are all the customers and service provider console I've onboarded. I'm mapping those. There's a reseller tab here. There's a reseller capability. So for larger service providers, they may white label this service provider console to MSPs who don't have anywhere to stand this up. If you're an MSP who doesn't want to stand this up, you may want to reach out to us so we can get you into a larger service provider who can white label this for you. And this allows the management of keys between one MSP and another. The license keys here, so I can come in, I can cut a key, pick the product that I want, the number of workloads that I want to back up, next, finish, assign that to a customer, and I can push it out to those Veeam servers from the console. All right. One other thing there on licensing. So this is going to show you the current usage of your licensing. You'll also get a monthly usage report, so you'll know exactly what you need to submit into Pulse. So you will still need to go into Pulse to submit your usage, but this can cut the keys, push the keys, manage them, and give you information on those keys. All right, last, I told you I'd talk about the opening up of a support ticket. So you can come in here, you can create a support key. It's going to ask you for your pro partner creds. You need to be a licensed admin to do this, but you'll go through, you'll be able to grab logs without having to go find those and upload those to an FTP. Just really save you some time. And, there's a bunch more stuff. We could go through the alarms, RPOs and SLAs, how it generate reports to make sure all your backups are good. But really, because we're running out of time, I want to keep this real short. So that's going to be it for this video. If you need more information, please reach out to your sales rep and we'll get you a demo. You can ask whatever questions you have. Please check out the other videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, keep on Veeaming in the free world.